Okay, so hello and thank you all for joining us today to talk about cyber insurance. My name is Clint Lewis and I'm the Director of Business Development here at SeedPod Cyber. We're teaming up today with Augmentt for a fireside chat. George Smith, Senior Business Development Manager of Augmentt, will tell you how to help your clients manage risk in a cloud-based environment. And founder and CEO of SeedPod Cyber, Doug Kreitzberg, will tell you what you need to be cyber insurance ready and reduce your overall risk. We will open up for a Q&A at the end, so feel free to drop any questions in the chat or ask at the end. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on our website. Once again, I'd like to thank you all so much for joining us, and I will be handing it off to Doug and George. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Clint, and thanks, George, for joining us on this presentation today. And given that it's we're kind of in the holiday season or coming on it, we'll make this more of a fireside chat as opposed to just a straight monologue on different topics with regards to cyber insurance and cybersecurity and how managed service providers as well as businesses need to be thinking about cyber for 2023 here. I'm going to share my screen. I do have a presentation that we'll just kind of riff off of. And just a little bit of background on SeedPod, and then I'll ask George to kind of speak to Augmentt here. The SeedPod is we're a cyber insurance platform that basically integrates our underwriting criteria with the tech stacks that MSPs are offering their clients, which enables their clients to save money and receive terms on their cyber insurance. And we also work with MSPs to provide them with tech, E&O, and cyber insurance for themselves as well. Here, we're pleased to have Augmentt as one of our partners that we work with because the tools that they bring really help in one important area of security, which is Saas-based security. And George, just if you could just introduce yourself and share a little bit about Augmentt, that would be great.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Doug, for having me this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. George Smith here from Augmentt. We are a Canadian-based software company that focuses specifically on MSPs and helping them better manage and secure SaaS on behalf of their clients. So we're delighted to be partnering with SeedPod and Doug specifically, as he, like us, takes more of a proactive approach to cyber insurance, and that's very much what we do at Augmentt when it comes to security, specifically around Microsoft 365 as well. And we can jump in towards the end of this session. I can actually show you what the platform looks like a little bit, so everyone has a better understanding of some of the functionality and the value that we provide.
Great. Well, thanks, George. We're going to talk about what the landscape is for cyber insurance and looking ahead to next year. I'll talk, and I think part of what we're going to be seeing next year is going to be somewhat of what we've been seeing this year, and I'm going to bring up another slide, and George and I have had a chance to kind of review this and kind of work. That there's a number of questions that this may raise, or certainly ahas, but I'll just briefly describe it. And from that, what this shows is what the bars represent. The bars represent premium that's been generated out from the cyber insurance portfolio, and this is global. And what you can see is over from 2015 to 2020 premiums. There was a increase year over year, some more than others. And then in 2021, there was a huge jump. And what that reflects is the carriers reacting to that red line, which is what are the loss ratios. And the loss ratios is the percent of premium that is paid out in losses over the overall premium that's generated. So when that red line goes up, what is going down for the carriers are their profits. And when it goes up too high, the carriers need to respond. And the way that they respond typically is by raising rates and lowering limits here. And that's what you can see happened in 2021, where premiums increased overall 92% there. And that was really in response to a 300% increase in claims over the prior 3 years.
So Doug, more and more people are making, over the past few years, more claims on their cyber insurance. And so insurance companies are having to pay out more money. And so their reaction to that has been to increase premiums. So the kind of the monthly charge, which is, are you seeing that that's become difficult then for people to acquire cyber insurance then, because they're almost getting priced out, or what's the impact of, because those are some crazy numbers, premiums increasing by, almost doubling, 92% last year. And obviously there's a need for this with we know all the stats around hacking and breaches. So it makes sense that more people are claiming. But have you heard from other partners or MSPs just in the past 12 months about those price increases and the difficulties that it's presenting with MSPs and other business owners?
Yes, it is. So with regards to the MSPs themselves, they've been seeing these price increases. We've spoken to many of them who've seen their premiums double year over year. In some cases, triple year over year as well. And MSPs represent a particular type of risk within the cyberspace that is somewhat unique, and I'll come back to that. Overall, businesses have been seeing their premiums go up as well, and it has, for the businesses, the smaller businesses, it's somewhat priced them out of the market. And that's a big concern. Actually, it's been talked about at a number of cyber insurance conferences. In two respects. One is, if you keep raising the rates, at what point does the market decide they're not interested in the coverage, period, or they're priced out?
Right, exactly.
And the other is, if they start reducing the coverage to such extent, the market will start going away. So the carriers are really struggling to address the kind of the complex scenarios that cyber and risk brings, because it is such a dynamic area type of risk, and the type of threats are changing all the time. It's also very difficult to really understand how secure an organization is up front.
Right.
And that's been a big challenge for the carriers as well.
There seems to be lots of moving pieces in what's a very complex world here, but it's kind of really great to simplify things and kind of dig into some of these pieces a bit. So without maybe oversimplifying things too much, is it fair to say that premiums are going up, so people are having to pay more for cyber insurance, but it's actually covering less because those carriers are unsure of what they want to cover or can cover, because we're seeing such a spike in activity around hacking and cyber crime that it's very difficult to your point, cover against all of that, but also prove who's at fault. I feel like that's kind of the follow-up for a lot of business owners and MSPs is, okay, I'm happy to pay, well, maybe not happy, but I will pay double the price or treble the price if you can guarantee or get close to a guarantee that if this bad thing happens, you will pay me. And I feel like there's sometimes a bit of mistrust between, well, everyone in insurance providers, not just cyber insurance, but car insurance, house insurance. Do you have any kind of words of wisdom or insight into that aspect of things?
Sure, and it's certainly natural to have some distrust in this environment. I can say that the carriers, if you're working with a reputable carrier, a carrier that is rated highly by insurance standards organizations, they do stand behind their claims. However, that being said, you have to be careful of what your policy is actually covering, because they'll only stand behind claims that they've elected to cover. And then two, you need to be careful of what you're putting on your application and making sure that it accurately represents, the organization and with cyber, the technical environment in which you're operating. And we'll talk about that more. But carriers are reluctant to pay claims if when an incident occurs, they find out that some of the technical controls that were listed as being present in an application were not present
Right.
when the
So
incident occurred.
they're looking for examples or instances of negligence to a certain degree on the
Right.
holder's part. Okay.
Right. Here, but I think the this is 2021. So rates went up 92%. This past year, 2022, towards the tail end of 2022, the rate increases began to slide down. So year over year increases were in that 10 to 15% range. Now, of course, that's 10 to 15% over a 92% increase the year before. So it's still off of a higher base. And that is somewhat of the result, as you can see that loss ratio line going down, but still overall claims still exist. The claims are still occurring. The claim rate is still going, and so you should expect to see continuing price increases over the next foreseeable future. For the market overall, and for the very reasons, the dynamic changes of cyber itself and the threats that are occurring, as well as the lack of real transparency the carriers have with regards to the risk that they're writing, for the most part, here. And that being said, and one of the outcomes that of these recent trends is the carriers are focusing more and more on what is within that control environment, what controls are in place, and that represents certainly opportunities as well as certain risks from an MSP perspective here. And just to kind of go to the basic, as we call it, the basic insurability kit. These are items that organizations should be thinking about making sure that they have within their environment, and these are solutions that MSPs should be looking to add or include in the tech stack and the services that they're offering at minimum from a cybersecurity standpoint here. I mean, there's the basic ones such as multi-factor authentication, certainly, and firewalls, which that need to be in place. The backup solutions, patching, those are kind of the key foundational areas. Make endpoint detection and response used to be a nice to have. Now it's becoming a need to have, at least from an insurability standpoint. And training is certainly in filtering, etc. The one area that is becoming and can be often just neglected, but is important, is that SaaS security. I talk more and more with companies that are totally in the cloud, and so what are the security solutions that they need, and what's available to them are things that the MSPs should be looking to provide.
This seems to be a very solid list of items and pieces that I think most MSPs would have as their stack. Are we seeing then just a shift, Doug, from maybe even 5 years ago where you apply for cyber insurance and it's very much a case of kind of ticking a few boxes to say, yes, I'm a good MSP, my clients are secure, whereas now, as you mentioned, that list of must-haves is growing, so a lot of the nice-to-haves are now must-haves, and now there's actually a lot more work up front that needs to be done, that MSPs need to show up front. I am a good MSP, my clients are secure, here I can prove it, I'm using this particular tool, or we conducted this type of security awareness training on this date, here's the MFA status of my clients of this date. Like, things in terms of applications for cyber security insurance are becoming that much more detailed and granular. Is that correct?
They are, and at the same time, there's limitations. Each company, just picking on multi-factor authentication, you could get 10 different applications, cyber insurance applications, and find 10 different wordings with regards to multi-factor authentication. And so trying to decipher what's the intent of the carrier with regards to that question can become problematic. But overall, the bar is now raised with what is expected of businesses with regards to security, certainly from an insurance perspective, if not from the client's perspective that work with those businesses, and that are often beginning now to ask, what is your security policy? Do you have these things in place? Do you have cyber insurance? Show us evidence of that as well. So the MSPs are, and the challenge that some MSPs have isn't that they don't have the tech stack. They do. The challenge is still saying to that business, no, you need to put multi-factor authentication in now. We can't, otherwise I have to click the box no on the application and you don't have it, which could put you subject to not being able to get coverage, period. And having those conversations, and in some cases, and which we've heard as, and I think it's a good practice, is for those companies that are electing not to have these security controls in place, to having them sign off that they were presented with the option and that they neglected not to have
it. Right. Because I think, so is it fair, like there's, this is obviously a very prevalent issue. We've spoken to a lot of our MSP partners about this, and with cybersecurity for their clients as well. MSPs are the IT experts for their clients. And so in that way, whenever their clients are looking to get cyber security insurance, they're coming to the MSP with part of the application that focuses on the technical aspect and says, here, you're my MSP, can you please fill this out? And often MSPs are reluctant or uncomfortable doing that because they're not an insurance expert, and so they don't want to put their name next to something that really could get quite serious and end up in a negative situation. Furthermore, to your point, I get the impression sometimes that MSPs who are very, very competent with IT read through some of these agreements that are, or questionnaires, applications that are created by insurance specialists, again, not IT experts, saying something like, do you use MFA? I've had that conversation and seen that on an application with an MSP, like, do you use MFA? And he's like, I don't know what to put for this, because is it for a particular person? Is it for the business? What application? Like, it's not a simple yes or no question. And so they're unsure about what to put it. And even, you spoke about the SaaS point there. Sometimes they're not even sure what their customers actually using in terms of, yes, we know they have Microsoft and QuickBooks, but I'm almost certain that there's more applications that the sales team is using, that the marketing team is using, and is MFA available and present and being forced on those applications? I don't know. And so you can see how things get quite stressful and confusing. What advice would you have for MSPs that are in that kind of position, where they're being leaned on as the IT expert, but also acknowledge that they're not a cyber insurance expert and unsure how to
Yeah.
proceed?
Yeah, I think the well, first of all, to the extent that you're being asked to respond to certain questions on the applications, don't what you want to make sure is that you're spending time on educating the client on what those answers are, and not just filling it. And I wouldn't fill out the entire application, certainly, because the business needs to be engaged as well.
So use it as an
there.
education opportunity first and
Right,
foremost.
and exactly. The other is when you're responding to questions such as, do you have multi-factor authentication? Typically there'll be a yes or no box, but it may be more subtle than that, and you want to be clear to what extent there is MFA in the environment. And so feel free to add verbiage or add a separate sheet of paper to describe. And in other situations, ask the underwriter, the carrier, who, and sometimes the carriers don't even know exactly what the answer is, but feel free to do that, because not answering the questions thoroughly could put you or put the business into hot water. Remember, the business is ultimately signing off on that application. They are the insured, not the MSP. And so the insured and the client, in this case, is ultimately responsible for that information. Use it as an educational tool. It could be also a sales tool, if there's certain questions that you would have to answer no to, but you could be able to answer yes if they were able to make certain changes in their environment, add additional solutions there. I
So
think
just on that, Douglas, it's better for the MSP to be specific and honest, and we're kind of looking at it through a lens as to what proof they can provide as an MSP. I mean, if we take, for example, backup, there can say, yes, we can say tick, tick, tick about backup, because I know we're backing up your business, and I actually have the reports from my backup provider to say, yep, successful completion of a backup as of this date, here you go. So is that kind of a good way for an MSP to think about what they can? And it's honestly, it's like focus on what you can actually prove to both your client and in turn the insurance provider. And if you can't, then as you say, that's a great opportunity for a sales conversation as well as an education one.
Yeah, absolutely. And with regards to how we work from the insurance side, we basically pre-underwrite the tech stack that the MSPs are offering up front, and we pre-underwrite the standard deployment of those solutions. And so when it comes to a particular client in need, who is requesting terms of insurance through us, we're just asking for any deviation from the standard procedures, validating they are on the tech stack and to go through. I think a challenge that some MSPs are finding is that some of these applications can take hours to complete thoroughly, and it's usually unbillable hours from their standpoint. We try to reduce the friction without reducing the quality of the information that we're providing or we're getting in order to underwrite the risk. And part of this too is, and I'll just kind of speak to a couple, in keeping with the spirit of the times, the ghost of claims, insurance claims past, present, and future. The claims past were really around with regards, and I'll speak more specifically to MSPs. And in this example, these would be situations in which you would one of your clients suffered, had an incident, and it may have come. It may be unknown whether it came as a result of the MSP's actions or an external. They went in to try to fix and fix the situation, and may have been successful in doing so, but then still found themselves sued by the client and or the client's carrier there. So making sure that you're focused, from the standpoint of as an MSP, you're focused on pulling in your carrier in those situations before you start jumping in to help the clients with their situation. Is always a good idea to make sure you're getting the counsel on what you need to do and what roles that you should be playing and how you should be helping and documenting the work with the client along the ways. What we're seeing more of, what's coming through now is, and this is similar to some respect, is the to what I just described, is that if you go to help a client and let's say you do know that an incident occurred through your actions or through tools that you were using, and you go help the client, you may still find yourself, you may spend a lot of work and do a good job, and even the client is happy, but your carrier may decide, well, you didn't tell us ahead of time that you were going to do that, so we're not going to compensate you for the effort that you did to do that. And that's something to be concerned with. The other, what's going on now, is that a lot of carriers are putting sublimits on, which is a reduced limit of liability on certain categories of coverage, such as ransomware. So you may think, oh, I bought $1 million worth of coverage, and you have a ransomware event, and you find out that you only have $250,000 available for ransom, and which is not near enough to cover you. And then from the future standpoint, and it's already starting to happen now, and this gets into the application, is carriers are now, they're either rescinding coverage when they find misstatements on the application at the time of claim, or they're denying coverage there. And that's where, from if the client is, whether the client is completing their application, or you're completing the application for them, or you're completing the application for yourself, you need to be clear and specific into what you have and what you don't have in the environment there to make sure that you do have that coverage when and if an incident occurs.
So for clarity, Doug, because those are two pretty great, situations that I don't think anybody wants to find themselves in. So number one, read the small print. Ransomware, you think you've got $1 million of coverage, and then there's a small clause that says, actually, if it's specific to ransomware, you only have 250,000. So if we kind of play that scenario through, the insurance company in that instance that would pay out the 250,000, but it's, they're like, yeah, we've held up our end of the deal, but the actual business that's been attacked doesn't have the money it needs to actually pay the ransomware, probably goes bankrupt, right? So again, that's a terrible situation. And then even worse than that, well, maybe not worse, but the same result where you're talking about carriers rescinding things, like going through and saying, well, you said you had MFA for this, or you said you were only using these 5 software applications. It turns out the breach came from this other application that isn't listed as your sanctioned applications, whatever it may be. Therefore, we're going to kind of deny you this claim. And then again, no money comes through, or not enough money comes through. Business probably goes under. Is that something that, in your circles, you're seeing that happen on a more frequent basis? People going through things with a fine-tooth comb?
What we're finding is that people aren't going through with a fine-tooth comb. Which is a challenge, and it's understandable, because it's the cyber insurance is opaque in general, and cyber insurance is even more so opaque to really understand. And you need to have some type of you should have someone who's got really an expertise in evaluating coverages and advise you on what you have and what you should be thinking about. Many, when we talk to MSPs as well as businesses, many of them really, they may confuse, the MSPs as an example, may confuse, they may have tech E&O, and they think that will cover cyber, or they have cyber, they think that will cover their professional services, or they may have the definition of professional services doesn't equate to what they're actually doing. And it's tough to know because that's not the business they're in. But they should be leaning on someone who has some expertise. And unfortunately, in the insurance marketplace, which is typically distributed through standard brokers who work on a number of different lines of coverage, they may not have the expertise themselves.
Right. Specifically when it comes to cyber. So when it comes to cyber, get proof and get an expert.
Right. Yeah. And that would be, really the way, because, the challenges that the MSPs face with themselves or when they're dealing with clients and insurance is, understanding what the coverage is, understanding what their liabilities are, how much should they attest, and what's the consequences, the time. We talked about the billable hours that it takes to do this, and just having those conversations with the clients with regards to when, making it educational, but sometimes it could be uncomfortable if when you go back and say, well, I had to click no in all these areas because you didn't want the MFA, you rejected the EDR, you thought your backup was good enough, you didn't want to go with the solution that we had asked you to do, and those can be uncomfortable conversations. These are the challenges. Our approach to it is really to have a series, is to educate, because we believe that helping the MSP communicate risk in the right manner to their clients is important. So we provide a lot of tools and resources to help them. We don't ask the MSP to fill out an application. They just provide us with the validation of the controls. So they don't, that validation, the liability is diminished there. The time it takes is certainly diminished through the process for both the MSP and the client. And from the communication standpoint, I've actually been on the phone with a couple clients helping the MSP sell multi-factor authentication and being the bad guy, if you will, as the insurance carrier, saying that you need to have this, and it's not just SeedPod saying it, it's really the insurance industry there. So we can help out in those conversations as well. There. I think the area and what kind of led us to have conversations with you and with Augmentt was in one area as we were evaluating the security stack of what we wanted in the environment. There's a whole concept of shadow IT that exists, and it's been largely driven because of the explosion of SaaS tools and the availability of them. And they all present individual security risks. And then when you add on to it the kind of the access control and the kind of which can almost be a democratized access control if you're not managing it correctly, can create challenges. We really wanted to make sure that organizations were focused on SaaS, the SaaS tools and the SaaS security. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit, George, about your Augmentt and how you're thinking about this new world we're living in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think coming back to, if we think of it through even one of these cyber insurance applications, I love the idea that you have that kit of different tools for that MSPs should be using, and also highlighting that they're using and have proof that they're using. But it becomes a really good conversation to have with your clients around, we have backup because it does this. We use an RMM because we have patch deployment. You know, but there's some gray areas that we need to talk about. And one of the biggest ones today that's increasingly growing is shadow IT. And so I've got some questions on the slide there. You know, if you actually went to some of your clients today and you asked them, you know, first of all, you might have to actually explain what SaaS is. And then moving on from that, to ask them, how many SaaS applications are you actually using in your organization? You know, how many of these apps are actually secure and compliant? So maybe if it's in a healthcare industry or another vertical where there's, you know, HIPAA or PIPEDA, or, you know, insert your compliance acronym that's appropriate, as well as just having sanctioned use. Can you talk to me about that? You know, how many applications are you using that do the same thing, or that are actually unused, or that you're paying for 50 licenses of, but maybe only 10 people are using on a regular basis? You know, could they give you an accurate answer? The answer is no. Like, the reality is no, they can't, because, you know, hybrid work is here to stay. Everybody is working from home, or at least partly at home. People are bringing their own devices to work, and when you tie that in with how easy it is to access cloud applications now, you just need a browser, you head to the website, you download what you need, whether it's a freemium version or a trial, and then that's when things for the end user kind of begins to split from security with the MSP, right? The end user sees it as, great, I get access to this new bit of software, this new tool set, it's going to make me better at my job, it's going to improve productivity, I can be a better employee. However, from the MSP and the security side point of view, that's, you know, not a good thing, because we're losing visibility and control of the sanctioned use of applications that we know that we're looking after for our particular clients. More importantly, whenever the end user signs up to a particular application, they're probably using their corporate email, which is the same email address, the same username that they use for some of their bulkier or more prominent applications like a Microsoft or a Google Workspace. And they're probably using the same password as well, right? So someone signing up to, you know, Canva or something like that, they may not think it's a big deal, but, you know, Canva is a pretty good example of a SaaS application that actually gets breached a fair amount, and all of a sudden, yeah, hackers may not be interested in what type of designs that people are doing on there, but if they've got the same username and password that they can use straight away, they're into Microsoft, and that's a different story altogether. So having these often difficult conversations with your clients is really important to understand that kind of iceberg that we have, which is, we know you're using 3, 4, 5 of these applications, we're helping you manage and secure them, but, you know, there's this whole other iceberg going on of people signing up to whatever else they're using, and we need to understand what's happening there. So what we need to do is an audit to first get that visibility, and then present that information and consolidate your stack. We can talk about things that are a risk. We can talk about things that have a negative impact on cost, whether, again, it's duplicate applications or unused licenses. And then we can talk about productivity as well, right? Why is one of our developers on Facebook all the time, right? But it starts with getting that data set, and that's exactly what Augmentt, our Discover module, does.
Right. You know, the things that you described, using the same password for these different applications, and not even knowing that those applications exist, and that they have a hack track record. As an underwriter, that now I'm scared, which is one of the reasons that we worked with you. We
Right.
partner with you is because this is an area of risk that is going to continue to expand going forward. And I think this is also a great opportunity for the MSP, who's, you know, at this intersection of cybersecurity, cyber insurance, and kind of the evolution of the digital footprint that their businesses are going through, to really take a lead and to begin helping the businesses identify, manage, and secure as they may be migrating or moving out of kind of an on-prem world into more of a you know, this cloud world here.
Yeah,
So I
MSPs
think that's-
have to get back control or some aspects of visibility. Like, I mean, what you said there about insurance companies now being able to rescind claims based on, you know, whatever information is present or not present in the application. And like, if I was an insurance guy, that's the first thing I go looking for is SaaS applications. I'd be like, okay, you say you're using, we'll use the picture there. You guys have got Microsoft, Google, Dropbox, Zoom, and Salesforce. Okay, cool. And you're able to prove that all those are secure. Okay, that's great. Well, we've actually determined after the audit that the breach came from Slack. Someone was using Slack. Oh, you guys didn't know about that? Okay, well, we're rescinding this claim. And that, you know, from the cyber insurance point of view, Doug, that seems something that's plausible, that's realistic, that could actually happen, right? That's not sort of foul play or anything. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, it's not totally out of the realm of possibility.
Exactly.
You know, and certainly it complicates the claims process. And for
Right.
companies that may need those claims dollars to, you know, as part of their operating or working capital after an incident, you know, they don't want to sit around and wait a year or so for litigation.
And I would say more importantly, even just parking the claim, it certainly does complicate the claims process, but it also really complicates the MSP customer relationship, because all of a sudden the end users turn around and say, well, you're my IT guy, I thought you got a handle on this. And the MSP can sit and go, well, no, we have a very thorough master services agreement that says, you know, I am taking care of Microsoft, I am taking care of Salesforce or whatever else. Slack is not on this. And it's what we at Augmentt call this SaaS assumption gap, which is this kind of awkward conversation that needs to be had, whereby we need to know what you're using so that we can make sure it's secure, sanctioned, compliant, all that good stuff. Because if we don't and something bad happens, you know, you could lose your business, and we could lose our reputation in our business, you know, as an IT service provider.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're in the holiday season, and we're not having this conversation to drag you down into the depths. These are just some things to sensitize you as you look forward and you're planning for 2023. And you know, it's a kind of it's two-pronged. There's opportunities for you to position yourself, if you are an MSP, on this call as, you know, a trusted advisor around risk management solutions for your customers. And if you are a business listening to us, these are areas that you should be concerned about and thinking about with regards to the cyber insurance, and how you think about making sure that it's not only having the insurance and knowing what do you actually have. So what does your coverage actually provide you? And secondarily, do you have the underlying security in place to, completely to make sure that you minimize the chance of claims, but if there is a claim, that process will go smoothly as well. But it is the holiday season, so there is a gift, so George, if you want to kind of, there's a free sign up here. George, if you want to kind of speak to this.
Yeah, bingo. So let me just get the if you want to scan that code, guys, that will take you through to well, man, what I'll do is I'll actually just post it in the chat here as well for you guys, so you can click the link. But basically, guys, we have a freemium version whereby we don't have a trial, we don't have sort of a demo, we just give you 100 free licenses of the product, so you can actually roll that out to your clients today and start getting that full SaaS list. So I'll give everyone just the opportunity to give a quick scan of that. I'm just going to grab the URL to post in the chat, and then what we can maybe do, Doug, is I can share my screen and just quickly take through people what they actually get, what they're looking at.
Sure. Yep. Let's do that.
Perfect. All right. So everyone seeing, can you see my screen there, Doug?
Yep.
Okay, great. So guys, the first thing I want to show you just is Discover, which is what you'll be getting some free licenses for. This is what we were talking about around Shadow IT and what this platform does. Augmentt is the platform, and then we have 3 sort of main modules here. But with Discover, it's really all about getting that full SaaS inventory. Okay, so it's fully multi-tenant. So you as the MSP can get a high-level view across your entire IT estate, or you can drill into, a client like your marketing client here, for example. We've got a date filter, so you can go back as far as 90 days. We can export this information as a PDF, CSV, or Excel document as well if you need to incorporate it into other reports. And basically what we're doing here, guys, is we have a database of over 23,000 applications that we're setting against the web traffic of what the user is doing, and then parsing out that information to see who's using what application. We're not interested in sort of if someone's on a gambling website or other things. We're simply just generating this list of the applications that are in use. And then because we have a lightweight agent that you can deploy via any of the major RMMs or PowerShell, or even do it manually if you wish, we can get really granular information on the users. So we actually have some user filters here, so we can filter by department, by job title, or even if there's a particular individual who we know is consistently signing up for SaaS applications that they shouldn't be, we can generate a report on them. We have these categories about if something is approved or restricted, the risk score, high, medium, low, the productivity score, high, medium, low, and then actually the list of applications that they're using. So the application type, here's the statuses here, and we have the ability to differentiate if it's the browser version or the desktop version of an application. And that can be really important in your conversations, particularly around risk. So for example, if we see that someone is using Dropbox, but they've only used it once in the past 3 weeks and it was the browser version, safe to say that maybe a client left something there for them that they had to pick up. Maybe it was a large file like a video or something. Compare that to a second employee who has the desktop version of Dropbox installed on their computer and is using it every day. Well, as a company, we don't use Dropbox. So why does that person have it installed? They're using it every day. What are they doing? Are they stealing and uploading corporate information or proprietary data? That's something that we definitely want to investigate. We can play around with these filters here, so you can kind of show me all the approved or even the restricted apps. So whenever something's restricted in Augmentt, it's just saying that people shouldn't be using it. It's not actually blocking it, because we want to see if something's restricted, we actually want to see who's still using it. So for example, here, Dropbox is restricted because it's high risk, and we have 3 users here. So I can go in and see these are the 3 people that are using Dropbox and how often they're using it. And for applications that are maybe more obscure that you've never heard of, we do have a details tab that brings in some additional information, some links you can take a look at. And of course, we can exit out of this one and even generate reports on days active. So you can go to your clients and say, okay, I can actually show you your most popular applications by usage. So as a marketing firm, you'll be pleased to know Adobe and Google are right up there. Lots of people are also using Microsoft Teams, okay, to chat with folks. And we can see our social media, Salesforce, and just build out these reports. The other thing around proof that I want to quickly show you is just in our secure module on MFA. Secure is Augmentt's 3rd module that focuses specifically on really enhancing your ability as an MSP to secure and configure Microsoft on behalf of your clients. So again, we have multi-tenancy here, so it's bringing all your clients into the Augmentt platform, and you can get a high-level view of the security of the platform. But just to be cognizant of people's time, I'm going to focus specifically on the MFA report. Doug was talking about how whenever you're doing certain applications for cyber insurance, you want to have proof that things were in place or that you're enforcing certain things. This is how you can do it for MFA with Microsoft 365. You can use Augmentt, go to all your companies, and it gives you that status of all the MFA across all of your companies. Now, ideally, you want all of your clients to be looking like marketing, whereby 79% of employees are required to have MFA, and of those employees, they all have it turned on. And we can even see what type of authentication method they're using, whether it's an application, their phone, a security key, something else. And we can actually go in and view the details here, and we can see all the different users, their emails, license type, etc., and the MFA status. And of course, that's something that we can easily export as a PDF, CSV, or we can even schedule these to go through to the client on a monthly basis. We also have the ability to set up alerts so that there's a drop in compliance. So for example, if somebody turns MFA off, or there's a new user that gets added to the company that doesn't sign up for MFA within, the opening days, you can get alerted on it, so you can make sure that you're continuing to be client and have that 100% MFA rollout. So that's, I don't want to, we're not here to kind of demo Augmentt. We're kind of here to focus on cyber security insurance. I just wanted to give you guys a sneak peek. You do have access to Augmentt for free, 100 free licenses for you guys to use, no strings attached. We'd love for you guys to use it, to deploy it, to start getting that data. And then I believe whenever you're using Augmentt as well, Doug, there's it's kind of a double whammy. There's some discount that you guys offer because MSPs that use Augmentt are being proactive with security, and those are the kind of MSPs that you like to work with, right?
Yeah, we have there's the base controls that we're looking for, and then which there's some savings as part of that as well, and then there's an additional 10% premium credits which are available for the use of Augmentt as an example. So that's something to consider, and may help to pay for the cost of the solution for your clients there. So it's something to consider. Is there really thanks George for our fireside chat. We really should have had hot toddies and be smoking jacket and everything, but we'll have to work that out next time. Are there any, we have a few minutes left. Are there any questions from the group? I don't see any in the chat or the Q&A, but just if you do have any questions that either I could respond to or George.
And I've posted the link, guys, to that. If anyone didn't scan the QR code, there is a link, the URL in the chat. So please feel free to click that. Just pop in your information, and we'll get you set up with those Augmentt licenses. Like I say, it's not kind of oh, you've only got 14 days to use it, or you get access to half the platform. It's 100 free full licenses for you guys to use. We're happy to jump on a quick call to get you set up, and that way you can actually start taking a look at some of the data there, and then going to Doug to talk about how you can get insurance. So Cody May's got a hand up. I think we may need to unmute some people here. So I'll go ahead, Cody, and unmute you. Oh, sorry, we got something in the chat. If you guys just want to pop your questions in the chat, Cody, if you're able to use the chat feature.
So yeah, Cody did ask the question, does SeedPod offer services for Canadian customers? Right now, SeedPod Cyber, our insurance is available US only. We are looking to get into Canada next year. So we'll get your name down and we'll reach out to you as soon as we launch into Canada. Thank you for the question. We get that often, and it pains me every time I have to answer.
Let's go in here from Shivraj in the chat. Does Tool promote or warn users if they have likely lowered risk control that might probably not best practice in any way? I'm not really sure what you're asking. The Augmentt kind of, you have sort of various reports, including sort of before and after. So there is a risk report that can be used as a sales tool to say, look, there's all this risky stuff happening in your Microsoft environment. We need to fix this. We need to get MFA turned on. We need to get these inactive accounts kind of fully deleted and offboarded. And then Augmentt actually helps you work through that process. So at the end, you can generate a summary report to say, here are the things that we've done to secure the account. And to Doug's point, those are all critical pieces of evidence that can support you, that you can look back on in the future if there is a claim, to say, actually, pulling this report from Augmentt from May 2022, here were the statuses, or here's the actions that we took. We blocked this IP address. We increased the Microsoft security score from 60 to 82%. We, the MSP, were doing our job. And also, to Doug's point, more importantly, emails and those reports to say, we need to do these. And if the customer says, no, I don't want to pay for it, well, then that's something you can leverage in, a possible future dispute to say, we were the IT expert. We identified the risk and the problem. They didn't want to pay for the solution. Here's the evidence of that.
Right.
Hope that answers your question, Shivraj. But if not, just follow up in the chat.
Yep. And we also, SeedPod also works with our MSP partners on doing instance response simulations for their clients. And about midway through the renewal, and during that time, we actually, as part of it, we look again at what the risk map is of those clients, and if there are any kind of variations from the initial applications that will be part of the discussion as well there to help sensitize them. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I assume you're all busy unwrapping your 100 free licenses and getting ready to deploy them for your clients. I hope this has been a helpful conversation. George, thank you so much for your insights and participations today. And I wish everyone the best of this holiday season and as well as hitting the ground running in 2023, so you have the best of year next year. Okay.
Thanks for having me, Doug. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Take care. Bye-bye.